It's been 3 days since Rowan left. The silence in this apartment is so loud, you know? It's the kind of quiet that buzzes, where the only thing you can hear is the low hum of the refrigerator. His side of the closet is bare. The worn out armchair where he used to read is gone. It's not just empty, it's sterile, like he was surgically removed from this life from my life. There was no screaming match, no tearful goodbye, just a void. And I'm sitting here on the couch we picked out together and I feel nothing. It's like I'm floating somewhere near the ceiling, watching this girl who looks like me just sit here. I feel like I'm in a theater, all alone, about to watch the replay of how it all went to shit, and I'm just trying to pinpoint the exact moment I set the fire. The movie spools back. Let's say a year ago, the opening scene is perfect, almost annoyingly so. We're at a friend's barbecue, and I remember my friend Jess sighing as she watched Rowan flip burgers, laughing at some dumb joke I'd made. "You guys are serious relationship goals," she said. I smiled, squeezed his hand, and felt that familiar, warm pride. But underneath it, a new, cold feeling was starting to grow. The feeling of being an imposter. Rowan was a soil scientist. I mean, can you get more grounded than that? His whole world was about foundations, about what grows from solid ground. He was kind in a way that felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. He'd leave a cup of tea on my nightstand every morning because he knew I hated getting out of bed. He'd come home from a long day in the field, dirt under his fingernails, and get genuinely excited telling me about the specific mineral composition of a new sample. He saw entire histories in a handful of earth. I'd nod and smile, trying to look interested while my brain was screaming, "God, it's just dirt." He loved me, I know he did. I could see it in the way he'd watch me from across the room at a party, with this quiet little smile on his face, like I was his favorite secret. And I loved him too, I really did. But God, it was so predictable. Our life was a comfortable, well-worn path. Friday night was ordering the same Thai food and scrolling through Netflix until we settled on a show we'd already seen. Saturday was errands and maybe dinner with his very nice, very boring colleagues. Sunday was laundry and the quiet rustle of him reading a geology journal while I scrolled through my phone. It was safe, and that safety had started to feel like a cage. I'd look at him, this wonderful, decent man, so content in our little world, and this ugly thought would creep in, is this it? I was 28, not 58. I'd see pictures of my single friends at loud concerts, on spontaneous weekend trips, living lives that felt vibrant and technicolor while mine was fading to beige. I felt this desperate itch, this need for something that wasn't this. I wanted a jolt, a spark. I wanted a stranger to look at me in a way that made my stomach flip. I wanted to feel a little bit dangerous, you know, just to prove to myself that I still could. I convinced myself it wasn't about him, it was about me. It was a little adventure I needed to take for myself, a secret story that only I would know the ending to. I told myself it was harmless, like trying on a different personality for a few hours a week. It wouldn't affect him, I was smart enough to handle it, it wouldn't change us. God, I was such an idiot. That's the part of the movie where the audience starts yelling at the screen, right? "Don't open that door," and I just smiled, turned the knob, and walked right through it. The door I walked through led to a place called the Gilded Cage, a ridiculously named cocktail bar near my office. The movie shows it in cinematic detail. Dim lighting that made everyone look more interesting, dark wood that had absorbed 1,000 secrets, the constant clink of ice in heavy glasses. It was an incubator for the life I imagined I should be living. I went there initially with my team for happy hour. They all left, one by one, heading home to their families and their routines. But I stayed, I just didn't want to go home to the quiet yet, and that's when Talon slid onto the stool next to me. He wasn't movie star handsome, not like Rowan with his classic, gentle features. Talon was sharp edges and a restless energy. He was a sales director for some tech startup, and he had that kind of charisma that feels like a spotlight. When he talked to you, the rest of the room just faded away. Our conversation was easy. He didn't ask about my weekend plans, he asked about my ambitions. "What's the one campaign you wish you'd run?" he asked. "The one that was too bold for your bosses?" No one had ever asked me that. With him, I wasn't just Rowan's girlfriend. I was witty, I was insightful, I was fascinating. He laughed at my cynical jokes, the ones that just earned a concerned look from Rowan. "You have this killer instinct under all that corporate polish," he told me, leaning in so I could feel the warmth from his arm. "It's a shame to keep it locked up." And God, my stupid, vain heart just drank that right up. It became our spot, once a week, then twice. My phone would buzz on the bar top. A text from Rowan, always around 6:30 p.m. "Hey, hope your day was good. I'm making that chicken and orza you like. Let me know when you're heading out." A wave of guilt would wash over me, hot and sharp. I'd see a flash of our life, cozy, dependable. But then Talon would notice my expression, lean in with a knowing smirk, and top off my wine. He'd launch into a story about a wild business trip to Tokyo, and just like that, the guilt would dissolve into the thrill of the moment. The lie I typed back, ugh, so sorry, got pulled into a last-minute project. Don't wait up for me, felt less like a betrayal and more like a password into a more exciting world. I built this whole separate life in the space of a few city blocks. And the whole time, I had this running commentary in my head, a constant justification. This isn't cheating, I'd tell myself. We're just talking, it's intellectual, it's just fun. I reasoned that this little dose of excitement made me a better partner. I'd come home buzzed and cheerful, more affectionate with Rowan because I'd gotten my fix. The deception itself became part of the high. The risk, the secret knowledge, it made me feel powerful, like I was the sole author of my own complex, thrilling story. The camera pulls back and you see me there laughing at something Talon said, my phone screen dark on the bar, completely oblivious to the fact that I wasn't building a separate life. I was planting a bomb in the middle of my own. Here's the part of the movie that makes me want to look away. This is where I go from being a fool to being a villain. The high I got from Talon started bleeding into my life with Rowan, but not in the way I pretended it would. It turned toxic. I didn't just hide my nights with Talon. I started using him, or the idea of him, as a weapon against Rowan. It was a slow, deliberate campaign of psychological warfare, and I was the only one who knew the war had started. It began with tiny, poison jabs. Rowan would plan a weekend for us, a quiet hike to a spot with a beautiful view he'd researched. He'd be so proud, showing me the map, talking about the birds we might see. He'd have a thermos of my favorite hot chocolate already packed, and I'd look at this perfect, thoughtful plan and say something like, "That's sweet, honey." It's just Talon was just telling me about this incredible pop-up art gallery downtown. They had a DJ and free-flowing champagne. Sounds insane, right? We should do more stuff like that. I'd watch the light in his eyes dim just a little. He'd fold up the map. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe. And the hike would be canceled. It got worse. He cooked me dinner one night, his specialty, a slow-cooked beef stew he'd been perfecting. It was delicious, an act of love. As I ate, I said, "This is so good, it's so comforting." You know, Talon says a person's palate says everything about their willingness to take risks. He just tried this Ethiopian place that serves everything on injera bread, no utensils. Can you imagine? I wasn't just sharing an anecdote. I was drawing a comparison, and I was making sure Rowan knew he was on the losing side. I was telling him without saying the words, "You are not enough, you are boring, you are small." I even started criticizing his friends, his life. His friends were kind, solid people. They talked about mortgages and home brewing. After a night out with them, I'd say, "They're nice, Rowans, but don't you ever want to be around people who are, I don't know, creating things?" Talon's friends are screenwriters and startup founders. The conversations are just on a different level. I framed it all as me trying to broaden his horizons. I told myself it was tough love, that I was challenging him. I was pushing him out of his comfort zone for his own good. But I was just being cruel, and Rowan, he never fought back, he just absorbed it. He'd get quiet. His shoulders would slump a little. He stopped suggesting date nights. He stopped telling me about the interesting soil samples he'd found. He started retreating into himself, into his books and his quiet hobbies, places where my judgment couldn't reach him. He was building a wall, brick by silent brick, and my twisted logic interpreted his silence not as pain but as proof that I was right. See, he is boring. He doesn't even have the passion to argue. And a part of me, even now, this pathetic, ugly part of me wants to scream, "Why couldn't you just try? Why couldn't you have been a little more like him?" But that's the lie I tell myself. The truth, the one I see so clearly on this replay, is that I was making the kindest man I'd ever known feel inadequate, just so I could feel alive for an hour or two a week. I was dismantling him piece by piece to justify my own cheap thrills. The climax of the film isn't a big, dramatic explosion. It's a quiet, single click, the sound of a lock turning. It was our 5th anniversary, 5 years. Rowan had been planning this for a month. He'd made a reservation at Atoil, this ridiculously exclusive restaurant that has a 6-month waiting list. I have no idea how he got it. He was so excited, like a little kid. He'd told me to keep the evening free, that it was a big surprise. He'd even bought me a new dress, a beautiful silk one in my favorite shade of blue, and left it hanging on the closet door. That afternoon, I was at my desk, feeling a rare pang of genuine affection for him when my phone buzzed. It was Talon. "Got too impossible to get tickets for the Black Keys tonight. Secret show, warehouse downtown, you in for a little rebellion." My heart hammered against my ribs. It was the ultimate test. On one side, a quiet, romantic dinner celebrating 5 years of steady love. On the other, a secret, sweaty, loud concert. Predictable devotion versus a thrilling escape. I stared at the text for a long, long time. I pictured the evening both ways. Dinner with Rowan would be lovely, safe. The concert with Talon would be a story, it would be cool. And in that moment of pure, pathetic selfishness, I wanted to be the cool girl more than I wanted to be the loved one. I picked up the phone and called Rowan. My voice, when I listen to it now in my head, is disgustingly convincing. Oh my God, honey, you're not going to believe this. I feel absolutely awful. I think I have that stomach bug that's been going around. I've been in the bathroom for the last hour. There was a silence on the other end of the line, not a long one, just a beat, but it was heavy. It was filled with everything I'd been saying to him for months. Then his voice, flat and devoid of any emotion. Okay, that's too bad, you should get some rest. I'm so sorry, baby, I gushed, laying it on thick. You have no idea how much I was looking forward to this. I know, he said, and that was it. He didn't offer to bring me soup, he didn't ask if I needed anything. He just said, feel better, Nova, and hung up. I remember feeling a flicker of annoyance. Couldn't he be a little more concerned? Then I brushed it aside, my mind already on what I was going to wear to the concert. I felt a rush of adrenaline, a giddy sense of freedom. I had gotten away with it. The concert was exactly what I'd wanted it to be, loud, chaotic, and anonymous. Talon had his arm around me in the crush of the crowd, and I felt that cheap, electric buzz of a stranger's touch. We drank overpriced beer out of plastic cups and shouted over the music. It was a perfect escape. I got home around 2 a.m., the bass still thrumming in my ears. I remember practicing my sick face in the elevator mirror. I unlocked the door, ready to slip into bed and pretend I'd been asleep for hours. But the apartment was different. The air was still. The first thing I noticed was the empty space on the bookshelf where his geology textbooks used to be. Then I saw the key and his building access card sitting perfectly centered on the kitchen counter. My heart, which had been racing with excitement an hour before, went cold. I walked into the bedroom. His side of the closet was empty. The drawers of his dresser were open and bare. His toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. He was just gone. He was standing by his car when I ran outside, loading the last box. It was a small box filled with photos and personal things. He didn't look angry, he didn't look sad. He just looked done, like a switch had been flipped. Rowan, what are you doing? My voice sounded thin, pathetic. He closed the trunk and turned to me, his face was calm. That was the most terrifying part. There was no rage, no tears, just a profound, empty stillness. My one non-negotiable, Nova, has always been respect, he said, his voice level. Honesty is a part of that. You haven't respected me or us for a very long time. Tonight was just the period at the end of the sentence. What are you talking about? I was sick. The lie felt stupid and hollow in the quiet street. He just gave me a small, sad smile. The restaurant called me to confirm the reservation an hour after you canceled. They mentioned how lucky I was that 2 spots opened up for the Black Keys concert tonight. The manager is a huge fan. He paused. I hope you had fun. Before I could even process it, before I could formulate a defense or a plea, he got in his car. He didn't look at me again, he just started the engine and drove away. I stood there on the sidewalk, the concert wristband still on my arm, and checked my phone. I had already been blocked on everything. It wasn't a fight, it was an amputation, and now the movie is over, the credits have rolled, and I'm back in the theater. Alone. The silence in this apartment is a physical thing. It presses in on me. For the first day, I was furious. I paced this empty living room, ranting to myself. How could he do this, I thought. 5 years and he just walks away without a fight? No second chances? Part of my brain was actually angry at him for not being the weak, predictable man I had made him out to be. He was supposed to be the one who waited, the one who forgave. His decisiveness felt like a personal betrayal of the character I had written for him. Can you really blame me for all this? I asked the empty room. He could have tried to be more exciting, right? But then the anger fades and the other thing rushes in, the rewind. I see him folding up the hiking map. I see the hurt in his eyes when I mocked his cooking. I hear the flat, dead tone of his voice on the phone, and I feel this wave of self-loathing so intense it makes me feel sick. I wasn't just careless, I was cruel. I took a good, kind man and deliberately tried to break him, to reshape him into something he wasn't, all to make myself feel better. I didn't just break his heart, I disrespected his very soul. I pick up my phone, my thumb hovering over his name in my contacts, even though I know it's useless. The blocked notification is still there. I open my laptop and type his name into social media, knowing he's not the type to post, but I do it anyway. It's a compulsion. 1 second I'm thinking he'll be back. He just needs to cool off. The next, I'm drowning in the certainty that I have pushed away the only person who ever truly saw me and loved me anyway. I destroyed my life for a few cheap thrills and the approval of a man whose last name I don't even know. The movie keeps playing on a loop in my head. And every time I see myself making the same choices, saying the same stupid, cruel things, I'm not just the audience here. I'm the writer, the director, and the idiot on screen who walks right into the fire every single time. And I can't seem to find the stop button.